Welcome back to For Your Heart and Home. My name is Dee Dee. Welcome into my kitchen. There's something about this season that lends itself so naturally to cozy living. The snowfall outside, the quietness in the air, and the way the trees stand still. It all seems to invite us into the kitchen a little more. The colder it gets, the more grateful I am for warm ovens, simmering pots, and the chance to bake foods that comfort the body and settle the home. My family's still under the weather, so today I am batch cooking some breakfast items to keep everyone fed while they rest. These are simple things: bagels, muffins, pancakes, and waffles. But when you make them in batches, they save so much time and they feel like a little gift each morning. I like batch cooking because this way I can still serve my family nourishing meals without compromising on nutrients or flavor. I'm starting today by sharing my bread machine bagels, and with this I'm using all-purpose flour. If you've been around my channel any length of time, you know that I enjoy and absolutely love using freshly milled flour. With the recent Thanksgiving holidays, I purchased some all-purpose flour because we were having guests and I wanted to ensure that they had a wonderful experience with the meal, and so I wanted to create foods that they were already used to having. So I went out and I bought some all-purpose flour. So since I have this all-purpose flour on hand, I thought it would be a good time to share my bread machine bagels with you. I will put the recipe up on the screen so that you can follow that along. The bread machine is such a blessing on days like this. It does all the kneading and proofing for me, which means I can move on to the next task without worrying about the dough. Again, I'm still tending to my family. Everybody's under the weather, and so the less time I spend in the kitchen, the more time I can be with them to cuddle and attend to their needs. I add warm water, a bit of sweetener, salt, all-purpose flour, and yeast right into the bread machine pan. Once it's set to the dough cycle, it gets to work while I start prepping the next recipe. Again, I love using my bread machine in the kitchen. It takes the guesswork out of things and allows me to do so much more. As you know, I love to be efficient in whatever it is that I'm doing, and the bread machine really helps me with that goal. The bread machine takes about an hour and a half to knead and proof the dough, so when it's ready, I will turn it out on the counter and shape it into smooth, round bagels. I like to let them rest for a few minutes. This helps them puff up just enough before boiling. I also wait to make the hole in the middle of the bagel. I allow the dough to rest, and when I'm about to put it in the boiling water is when I will put the hole through and create the bagel form. After about 5 to 10 minutes, which is enough time to get your pot of water boiling, it is time to boil the bagels. Boiling the bagels is what gives them that classic chewy texture. Just a minute or so, less if you like, in the hot water, and they're ready for a quick bake. Now, I like to add some baking soda to my boiling water. I put about 2 teaspoons of baking soda in the water. You can add honey, you can add malt syrup, you can add sugar. Whatever you add will help to give it that pretzel-like coating on the cover of your bagel. So I like to use the baking soda method. It gives it a nice crunchy pretzel feel on the outside, but still keeps the inside nice and fluffy. And guys, the kitchen already smells so warm and comforting, and I'm just working on the bagels right now. And so guys, this is what they looked like when they were all finished, absolutely golden brown. I do not do an egg wash on my bagels, but if you want to, you can, especially if you're going to add things like everything bagel seasoning or cinnamon sugar. Whatever you're adding to it, you might need to do that egg wash, but I don't do the egg wash because I'm leaving my bagels plain and they came out absolutely delicious. Next, I'm making some chocolate chip muffins using a mix of all-purpose flour and freshly milled hard white wheat. My family absolutely loves the all white wheat freshly milled muffins that I've been making for the past several months, and so I'm sticking with that recipe. But again, I'm trying to use up this all-purpose flour that I have, so I'm going to use a mix of both to create this recipe. I will have the recipe up on the screen for you. This is for just all-purpose flour, but just know that if you're using freshly milled flour, it is a 1-to-1 conversion. You might have to add maybe a touch more flour. Watch the batter to see, but my family loves it with a mix of all-purpose. They love it with just all-purpose, and they love it with 100% freshly milled flour. So this is a recipe that I find works really well for us. So I love blending the two freshly milled because it adds the nutrients and the flavor while the all-purpose keeps the texture soft and familiar. So if you're transitioning, this is what I did when we were in transition. I would use up my all-purpose flour and add a bit of the freshly milled flour in because it added that nutrients and the flavor that I was looking for. This batter comes together really easily. It's thick, it's rich and speckled with chocolate chips that melt beautifully in the oven. You will see that I am swapping out some of my ingredients. I do not bake very often with heavy cream or milk, so whenever a recipe calls for that, I will add an additional egg because I need that fat, but I also will use water. But in terms of baking with milk, I try to stay away from that, and so I will often substitute milk for water and just add an additional egg for that fluffiness that you're looking for. So I scoop the batter into muffin liners and bake them until they're golden on top. I'm using reusable silicone muffin liners. They are absolutely wonderful. I never seem to have luck with using the paper muffin tin liners. They always get stuck to the paper and it's a pain, but these silicone muffins allow the muffins to fall right out and they hold their shape. So I love using these muffin liners. Muffins are a great thing to batch cook because they freeze perfectly and they reheat in seconds. I will say though, I rarely, if ever, freeze my muffins because they don't last long enough. My family absolutely love these, and so I make muffins probably 2 to 3 times per week. So here's a quick look at the completed muffins. They were fluffy, they were wonderful, and I love the taste that the freshly milled flour adds to these muffins. They are absolutely delicious, and you should definitely give them a try. Next, I'm going to work on pancakes. Again, I'm going to use a mix of all-purpose flour and freshly milled flour. This will be a half and half blend. I will put the recipe up on the screen, but I'm using a half and half blend with half all-purpose flour and half freshly milled hard white wheat. This gives the pancakes a hearty, wholesome taste without being too heavy. The fresh wheat adds warmth and depth, especially now as winter approaches. On cozy days like this, pancakes feel like such a staple. They store well, they're easy to reheat, and the batter comes together in just minutes. But I'm gonna be frank with you, I don't have time every day to make pancakes. And so when I set aside a day like today where I do this batch cooking, it really helps me, and it promotes independence in my children in the mornings. They will have something already prepared that they can reheat on their own. They can scramble some eggs, they can grab some fruit, get something to drink, and already they can put together breakfast on their own. That frees up time for me in the morning to focus on other things like quiet time with my Bible or just spending a few times getting myself ready for the day. So days like this are pivotal for our family because, again, it allows me to have nutrient-dense food prepared for my family. It promotes independence because all they have to do is to reheat something, possibly make something quick like a few eggs, and it promotes independence for them. Gives me time in the morning to focus on something else before we come together for the day for a homeschool day. So once my batter comes together, I cook these pancakes on a lightly greased pan. You can use butter, and I also use a bit of grapeseed oil, whatever works for you and for your circumstances. I cook them until they're fluffy and golden brown. I will say that some of these were set aside for breakfast today, and the rest of them went in the freezer. My children absolutely love pancakes. They will cover them in fresh fruit, they will cover them in maple syrup, and sometimes we will use powdered sugar. But pancakes are definitely a staple, and it's something I try to have stocked in my freezer on a weekly basis. Here's a look at these completed pancakes. They were wonderful. All right, so next I'm moving on to the waffles. Once again, I'm using some all-purpose flour and a freshly milled flour blend. I'm using 100% hard white wheat, but the blend will be between the all-purpose flour and the freshly milled flour. For the waffles, they are a slightly richer version than a pancake batter, just a bit more fat so the edges crisp up in the waffle maker. I pour the batter in and let the waffle iron do the rest. Now, if you've been following me from the very beginning, when I first got this waffle maker, I struggled to get my waffles to come out wonderfully. And so for a long time, I didn't make waffles because it was such a struggle. It was so frustrating. But I will say I stuck with it. And now my waffle iron is seasoned well and it is working beautifully. So I pour the batter in and I let the waffle iron do the rest. Now, my only complaint is that maybe I need to get another waffle iron so I can make multiple waffles each time, because it does take a bit of time for the waffle iron to warm up and for the waffles to cook. And so this was one of the parts of the day that took the longest because I had to give each waffle time to cook properly. And so guys, you'll see that these waffles are not perfect waffles because my goal today isn't perfection, it's provision. I want to make sure that I have nourishing options available for my children as they start to regain their appetite after being sick. So it's just about provision, guys. It's feeding my family with whatever energy I have in this season and in this season of time when we're getting over this illness. And so guys, here's a quick view of everything I was able to accomplish today. My waffles are cooling, my pancakes came out beautiful, the muffins were phenomenal, and the chef kiss for today were these bagels that went in no time. Winter has a way of slowing us down. It pulls us back into the home and invites us to create warmth where we can. Today for me, that warmth is in the simple homemade breakfast. Food that takes care of my family while they rest and recover. Batch cooking isn't always glamorous, but it's steady, gentle work. It's the work that reminds me that homemaking is both practical and deeply comforting, especially in seasons like this. Thank you for spending this cozy winter day with me in my kitchen. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back next week for more recipes, homemaking, and quiet moments of everyday life from For Your Heart and Home.